What's happening, guys? Kenny here again. Yeah, I don't have any aviators, guys. These are my wife's Ray-Bans. Yeah, what's happening, guys? Welcome back. And today I've got another HRc testing video for you guys. This is, I believe, number 8, which is crazy. And I've got 4 knives on the docket today to talk about. I don't have a whole lot to preface this video with because right now in the community it's relatively quiet on the whole HRc matters front, so not a lot to talk about there. Although there was something that Alchemy1 posted on his Instagram page this week that I thought was really relevant and something just really, it's just like an eye-opener to people in the folding knife world, because he posted something. He's looking at chef knives and he's trying to buy something, and he was just like researching to see what he wanted to get, and a lot of things he was seeing, and he was on like chef knives to go and stuff, and he's seeing these videos and everything's talking about when choosing your knife, you choose the steel, the geometry, the stock thickness and behind the edge thickness, and then the hardness. Those are the factors in when you're buying your knife. This is what you look at, and it's just plain and stated. It's just part of what you look for when you're looking for a knife in the kitchen world. So for people in the folding world, in the folding knife world, to even, it's just absurd, guys. It seems like just fact. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Of course, guys, we're talking about all things being equal. The HRc only matters when all the other process is done well. You can't have a high HRc without the proper like tempering and annealing and all that other stuff that goes into the heat treat process. As long as the heat treat process is done well and nothing is fucked up, you are going to have more wear resistance with a higher HRc, which is mostly what we're talking about. And a lot of times even edge stability. You're going to have a higher edge stability with a higher HRc. Yes, it may be more prone to chipping as you get higher and higher, but it's also going to be stronger. So it's going to take a lot more to get that to chip out or roll, which is what we want in folding knives, guys, for the most part, unless you're chopping away with your folding knife, which you probably shouldn't be doing. And if you are, choose a steel that's going to optimize that type of application. It's all about application, guys. What are you doing with your knives? How are you using your knives? Is that the right steel for what you're doing with your knives? Is that the right geometry? Is that the right knife for what you're doing with your knives? That's what matters, guys. And then when all that is considered, HRc is the place to take those knives, to take that steel to optimize performance in whatever application you're doing. So in saying that, I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera around, and we'll go ahead and talk about the 4 knives I'm talking about today, which will be the Benchmade Bugout in S30V, the Spyderco Cruwear. Got some more Cruwear to talk about today. This is the Knife Center exclusive Smooth G10. Then we'll have another Spyderco, the Native 5 Salt in LC200N. Then we have the Chaves Ultramar Redencion Street. This is S35VN. So yeah, got all pretty much, got some Spydercos, a Benchmade, and a Chaves for you today. And we'll go ahead and get right into that. Alright guys, so first things first, we're going to talk about the Bugout here. So I did not get a PMI test done on the Bugout. This has a mark due to a toughness test that's being done on this guy right now. Yeah, but as you guys can see, this is the knife that was tested. Got the indenters mark right there. And as you can see, this is Benchmade's chart. This is what they call for. We've got S30 at 58 to 60 HRC. And then I'll go ahead and put the picture of the Wilson 4JR hitting this knife. And you will see that it came up at 59 HRC, guys. That's right. That is right in range. Right in the middle of the range. So, and yeah, it definitely sharpened nicely. Feels like good steel. Apex beautifully. Very clean apex. Seems like it's done well at 59 HRC. I'm pretty sure Benchmade's got it down pretty nicely now. Sorry about the color here, guys. I figured it's not that important because I'm not really showing you guys something new or anything. So nice to see with the bug out. Then moving right along, we're going to talk about the Para 3 and Cruwear. Talk about this knife now, and I will show you it's been hit twice. And we'll talk a little bit about what Cruwear is called for, because I don't have a PMI for Cruwear either, so we're not going to talk about that. But if we look at Cruwear, Cruwear, you know, the optimal range is pretty broad. You could get Cruwear from 61 all the way to 65, and it's in its safe, you know, space. I don't think you'd get a super chippy Cruwear at 65, but you know, I don't have any Cruwear at 65, so I can't say that. The Cruwear I have, like my PM2 that was tested already, came up at 62. If you guys saw my toughness test, it performed excellently in the toughness test. It also holds an amazing edge, takes an amazing edge. So I'm pretty happy with Cruwear at 62. And as you guys can see, that's definitely within its range of where it's going to perform at excellence. So, yeah, or with excellence, I should say. But yeah, so this guy right here, I'm going to go ahead and put the picture on the screen of it being hit. I'll put the first one on first, and then we'll go ahead and put the second one on after that. And you guys will see that this Para 3 came up right in that same range as my PM2, and both were hit almost exactly the same. You got 62.1 and 62.2. So that's pretty impressive on that, guys. You know, just showing consistency at least. Although, in talking to Gerald over at Outpost 76 and seeing some of the other Cruwear examples we've had, it seems like, for one, the Manix Cruwear seems to come up. The Manix seems to be a higher HRC in general, maybe because it's a larger blade than the PM2 and the Para 3. But it seems to come up at a higher HRC in general. Although what we're finding is that some of the older model Spydercos, some of the old sprint runs are coming up at a higher HRC, like in that 63 to 65 range. So I don't know if they've adjusted their heat treat protocol for their Cruwear, but it seems like they're going with a lower HRC number now. I don't know if that's by choice, by design, or if it's, you know, just happening over time. Their process is slipping a little. I'm not sure. But I'm very happy with this knife. I'm very happy with my PM2 and the same HRC, relatively. So, yeah, I can't complain. Moving forward, we're going to go ahead and talk about the Chaves. Chaves is next. And in saying that, I'm going to go ahead and bring the PMI sheet for the Chaves. Since I do have that, we did do a PMI for this knife. And in saying that, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the Crucible S35 data sheet. And we're going to go over this real quickly. You'll see that I got 14% chromium. Here I've got 13.9%, which isn't bad. The vanadium's at should be at 3%. Here we've got 3.12, so just a little bit more vanadium. The molybdenum's at about 2% is what it calls for. And we are at about
2.549 on the molybdenum, which isn't bad, you know, just a little extra molybdenum, which can help with the grain structure and everything. And of course the moly also makes carbides. So next we're going to have the niobium. And niobium, we're at about 0.595, which is a little bit more than what it calls for, which is 0.5%, half a percentage. And yeah, it's not bad to see. That's nice. You know, the niobium is going to help it be stronger. We do have some silicon in here, which isn't exactly called for, but yeah, it's not that bad, and it's not a super high number either. So yeah, everything seems to be in line with this S35, and obviously there's no coating on this blade, so there's nothing to hinder the PMI test. So yeah, everything seems to be fine. Yeah, and getting the RC number on this, the Rockwell C hardness on this knife, you'll see we have the mark there from the indenter, and I'll go ahead and put that on the screen right now. See the picture of this knife being tested, and you will see that it comes up at 59.2, guys. That's right. I didn't exactly find anything that was you know, where they had advertised, where Chaves or Reate advertised their target HRc on these, but generally what we see in S35 is 58 to 60 or 59 to 61. Either way, at 59.2, it's coming up within range. And it's about where we like to see S35, although I wouldn't have minded seeing 60. I definitely have been very happy with this S35, and even the factory edge was excellent. Reate's known for, you know, we've been seeing that they do a good job with their heat treat. It performs excellently. They also seem to be using some kind of liquid cooling on their grinding process, which helps a lot, guys. It helps keep that HRc all the way to the edge, and it also helps with that, you know, fatigue steel on your, well, the wet grinding on your primary grind is going to help with that HRc throughout the blade. And then on the sharpening, if they're using a wet grinding sharpening, then you're going to have even more so on that factory edge. You're not going to have fatigue steel and burnt edge. So really nice to see from Reate, and excellently done on this. Although I would like to see a higher HRc number, but you know, S35, that performs excellently in that range, so not too bad. Moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the LC200N from Spyderco, and I'll go ahead and bring up the Zap form that shows us what they're calling for with that. And as far as the elements, as far as the elements in here, you'll see we got, you know, 3% carbon, or 0.3% carbon, that's not shown on the PMI. We've got the chromium at 15%, chromium's at 15.5%, you know, just higher chromium count. Could be negative, but not really. That's not much more. Then we've got molybdenum at 1%, the moly's at 1.26%. The manganese, max is 1% on the manganese. We've got half a percentage, 0.529, which the manganese, you know, it says max 1%, so that means anywhere from 0 to 1% is probably optimal. Then we've got vanadium, guys, which actually shouldn't necessarily be in there. It's interesting to see. And then we've also got copper, which isn't necessarily supposed to be in there. We do have nickel and nitrogen. Nitrogen's not going to show up on the PMI. It's one of those smaller elements that doesn't show up. And then we have nickel at 0.189. This says a max of 0.5 on nickel, which, yeah, it's fine. Nickel's kind of like an impurity, but it does do some benefit at small numbers. So, yeah, we're seeing everything in line here with this LC200N, except for that vanadium, which is a little strange. Yeah, little odd, but it's not going to necessarily do bad. I think it may have actually done some good in this one, but I don't know. It's hard to say. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how this thing did in the HRc test. When the Wilson hit this, I'll go ahead and show you that. But you can see there, that's where the indenter hit. And then I'll put the picture up now. And you guys can see. Yeah, guys, here we are at 56.2 HRc LC200N. Now, you know, I'm probably going to flip the camera around and talk more about this. LC200N, we are finding it hit low. A lot of these nitrogen-based steels, like something, you know, these steels that use nitrogen for carbide formation and stuff like that, seem to come up low. There's something to that, I think, and they're much harder. These nitrogen steels seem to be much harder to get into the higher range, especially when it comes to like a production type knife. So I've heard a lot of things say like 56 to 58 was their range, but then I look on their site, on the Zfinite site. Well, I'm sorry, on the Zap site. So you look at the Zap site, and even right here it says, you know, 58 to 60 operating hardness, and everything I see here seems to be in that 58 to 61 range. I don't understand the 56 where that came from, but you do see a lot of it in like for instance here, you see them talking about its, you know, its toughness and wear resistance at 56 HRc. So it seems like that's definitely something in mind with this steel, is even at 56 HRc it seems to perform well. And I'm gonna flip the camera around now and kind of finish up and talk about everything here.
Alright guys, so yeah, everything seeming to come up like right where it needs to be for the most part. Nice to see Spyderco, you know, hitting 62 on the Cruwear, and Benchmade right, you know, in spec pretty much for their S30, and it performs excellently at that. And then, you know, Chaves 59.2, it's right where we see S35 hitting for the most part, and this seems to perform excellently at that HRc, so doing well with the grain structure and stuff on these. All these knives seem to be very well done grain structure wise, including this knife, guys. I was actually very surprised by the HRc number on this, because this thing performs amazing. I was blown away by that number, because I would have not have guessed that low. This thing sharpens nicely. Not like amazingly easy either, where you think like, oh, this thing's soft. It sharpened normally, like almost like any S30V or the LC200N Spidey Chef I have at 58. It didn't feel much softer than that knife in sharpening, but seemed to hold it for a really long time. I'm super surprised by this blade. I was extremely impressed with it. I used it a bunch, stropped it and sent it to Jack Farmboy. Jack used it a bunch, and it came back to me still pretty sharp, and I stropped it again and still using it on that edge, and I'm surprised, really surprised by this. And I think a lot of that has to do with LC200N and nitrogen in general. The way that nitrogen refines the grain structure and keeps the carbides very small seems to have an excellent benefit to knife steels as far as toughness, edge resistance or wear resistance. Definitely seems to have nice edge stability and everything. I'm very happy with this, even at 56 HRc. I wonder what LC200N would be doing at 61. I'm super curious now, because with my Spidey Chef at 58, this at 56.2, I can't imagine what LC200N. I mean, 61 seems to be like the top of what they can take that RC to. But I've heard other people, other makers like Roman over at K-Swiss, he said that I think he could take it higher. But don't quote me on that, because I don't want anyone to go hit him up and say, like, Kenny said this. But I believe he said he wants to take it higher, try and take it higher. So I'm curious to see what LC200N at 61 does, because I bet it will blow the socks off of a lot of other steels. And I'm really impressed by nitrogen-based steels. Love to try some Vanax, because supposedly that's like this on steroids. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video came across the right way. I hope I got all the info in correctly. And yeah, I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate just everything. Thanks, and have a great day.